When one young woman at LeRoy Junior Senior High School started acting strangely, it was a cause for concern. But when 5 and 10, 15, 18, mostly young women, started acting strangely, it was a time to panic. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast. I'm Dean.
I'm Carrie.
Carrie's going to tell us a story about something I believe, I know very little about this, but I believe it involves some strange behavior that led to more strange behavior. That's how little few details I have on this story.
Well, we're in LeRoy or LeRoy, I guess, depending on
Probably should have looked that
what
up.
side of the street. No.
Really?
Some people call it LeRoy. Some people call it LeRoy. People who even live there.
Okay.
New York, 2011, like in the fall of 2011, high school student. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick to first names.
Okay.
Because these are real people and they still have lives. And
right.
not that this is sordid or anything, but, you know.
It is on a podcast called Weird World, so that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, public people. These are private people.
These are private people.
Okay.
I just wouldn't want to be talked about.
I got you.
14 years after the fact
Okay.
on some
We've
random
done it
podcast.
literally dozens of times.
By
But
some random people.
It's good to to draw that line in the sand now.
Yes.
All right.
I've done it before.
Okay.
But anyhow, Katie, we're going to talk about Katie. She's a high school cheerleader.
What's her last name?
And
Just testing you.
she goes to LeRoy Junior Senior High School, which is
sounds
weird.
like they couldn't make up their mind.
Yeah.
So it's what, 8 through 12 or something like that?
Or maybe
Or
7 through
7
12.
through
Or
12.
maybe it's kind of like how our kids' middle and high schools were kind of at the same location.
Yeah, but they still had two names. So these
they
people couldn't
did.
think of two different names.
But maybe they just
Maybe it was like LeRoy Middle School and LeRoy High School. And they said, you know what, let's save some time.
Yes. And it's a small community. There's only 600 kids at this school, and there's only like 7,500 people total in the town.
Okay.
So it's pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
And
What part of New York? Don't say upstate because that's everything north of New York City.
Not far from Rochester. I think
So
Rochester
middle of
is
state?
the biggest place. Fun fact, they used to be where Jell-O was made.
Really?
That was their big industry.
Was LeRoy?
I guess.
Huh,
Yes.
Because they had a lot of horse hooves in the area. So they thought, you know what?
Possibly.
Let's make lemonade.
Anyway, Katie was a cheerleader there at LeRoy Junior Senior High School. And one afternoon, she woke up from a nap and immediately felt like there was something wrong with her. Her chin was like jutting forward. She couldn't control it and kind of spasmy.
Oh.
And then shortly after that, a 16-year-old girl from the same school who actually posted stuff on YouTube passed out at a concert.
Wait, she was Katie in class when this happened? You said she woke up
From a nap, so no, she wasn't in class.
So, but she's by herself, and when we'll call it the chin incident happened, so she's not telling anybody about it or going on social media about it or anything. That, as far as you know?
She probably didn't immediately go on social media.
Okay.
I'm sure she went, Mom, something's wrong.
How old is she? Did you tell us?
I didn't. She's probably 16 or 17.
Okay.
These are all like juniors and seniors in high school.
Okay.
So then Laurie passes out at a concert, and then she passes out again at the homecoming dance, and she develops more and more symptoms.
And so those events were presumably days apart. I'm guessing.
Yes, the
And also-
concert and she,
And also days apart from when Katie's incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Laurie, her symptoms were like twitching and clapping. And she was documenting this on her YouTube channel. A few weeks after Katie and Laurie, Katie's best friend, Thera, who was also on the school's cheerleading team, also woke up from a nap having strange symptoms like stuttering. Stuttering so bad she really couldn't speak. Sometime after that, started twitching and like her head would jerk uncontrollably and her arms would kind of flail around.
And presumably she knew about what happened to Katie
Yes.
days before.
Weeks. It was
Weeks
a few
before-
weeks.
is that long?
Yeah, like 3 weeks. And then a couple of weeks after Thera's symptoms started, another student from the same school, Lydia, also a senior, started having similar tics and arm swings and humming, weird humming. Then another one, Chelsea,
What?
another cheerleader. So far, I think the only one who wasn't a cheerleader.
Lydia was a cheerleader also?
Lydia was not a cheerleader.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think Laurie was a cheerleader.
No, so we got, but Chelsea,
Thera,
Katie and Thera.
Chelsea.
Cheerleaders. Huh.
Cheerleaders. Chelsea was new to LeRoy, and she started making the same kind of strange noises, strange movements, and sometimes she couldn't even make it to class. It was so bad. She'd either leave
like
early
walk
or
in
just
school
not
or
come.
something like that. She's flapping around and making weird noises and just says script and going back home.
I mean, it's hard to sit in class if you can't sit still and you can't control vocal tics, especially, we know.
Yeah.
So the numbers just kept growing.
Wow.
That was like, 5 or 6, and
Yeah.
then 12, 16, 18
What?
in total. And like I said, there's only 600 kids at the school, so that's a fairly significant number of students.
Yeah.
But
You expect me to give the exact percent out of my head, don't you?
nah.
Okay.
Do you want to?
It's like almost 3%. I think.
So it kind of started with cheerleaders,
Yeah.
but obviously
Wow.
it went beyond that.
Oh, you give us in the actual sequential order because it was cheerleader, not cheerleader, cheerleader, not cheerleader, cheerleader, and then a deluge. That's
Yes.
at least
Yeah.
your order. Okay.
Yeah. And
were there more cheerleaders in those,
I
after
think
this
there
first
were
5?
more. Yes, I
Okay.
think there were more cheerleaders, but there were also some girls who just were not part of that crowd.
Okay.
Some girls who just kind of kept to themselves. Some of the more, rebellious kind of, the kids that had piercings and, that kind of stuff. There was one boy and even an older woman who was not a student at the school. She didn't have any affiliation with the school. She was 36.
Huh.
She was
Older
the only
woman.
non-student
Interesting.
who got it.
Huh. Okay.
So obviously parents are up in arms, right? Because social media is
Yeah.
going gangbusters in late 2011 and everybody's hearing about it. And so immediately, obviously, parents go to the school and they think, oh, is there something like, every community we had one near my high school, like it was an old dumping lot, there was a vacant lot next to our high school. And so there were hazardous waste was
What?
dumped there.
Wait, what? Next to your high school, there was a hazardous waste dump ground.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
A super fun site right next to, really?
Yes.
No, wow.
Yes.
No, Carrie, you act like, like most high schools. No, Carrie, most high schools do not have
I
toxic
didn't say most high
waste.
schools, but I said a lot of communities have these things.
Okay.
So they didn't have, they did have things like that, but there was like rumors that, there was something on the football field because it was cheerleaders, right?
Huh.
But not football players.
How many people went to that, at your high school, went to that toxic waste dump hoping to get superpowers, to expose themselves and be able to, do things?
0.
I wonder. Maybe you didn't hear about it, but I'll bet you it's more than 0.
So LeRoy is, I told you, it used to be the Jell-O place. And they even, reminisce about the Jell-O years. They said that they could tell what flavor of Jell-O they were making that day because that would be the color of the creek. So
Yeah.
some sort of waste coming out of the Jell-O plant. But like a lot of the factories and stuff had left LeRoy
Sounds like that's a good thing.
by now. Well, it was thriving town much earlier, but it had seen better days.
Yeah.
By 2011. It's very working class community, but they have good schools and nice people, and they're near enough to Rochester that a lot of people commuted into Rochester, but they didn't have the manufacturing that they used to have.
Yeah.
So
that's the story of, well, I was going to say the Rust Belt, but now kind of the entire country.
Yeah. Katie and her family, they were, probably upper middle class. They lived in one of the, nicer, well-preserved, older houses. And I guess her mother came from there, and it was a family home, and it was really nice. The day that she first started twitching, she was at her boyfriend's house, and her symptoms got worse. And her boyfriend's mom, they called her mom and said, we're going to call an ambulance. So they literally call an ambulance to come get her. They strap her, they put you on the gurney and they strap you into it. And at that point, she can't twitch anymore. And so it's uncontrollable. And
but she's like
strapped,
restrained and still twitching. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah, her body wants to twitch, but she can't because she's strapped in. So that's causing huge anxiety.
It's like every kid at a Bible school when they play danceable music. It's very similar. They can't dance because God would not want that. But
so she said being strapped in made it even worse, that she couldn't twitch. So doctors tell her and her mother that it's an anxiety attack. So she's a straight A student. She's a cheerleader, all that kind of stuff. A lot of pressure. And she admits it. Yeah, I'm anxious sometimes, honestly, what high school senior isn't. But her symptoms keep coming back. And like a few days later, they go right back to the emergency room. And I could see how, as a parent, you would be pretty freaked out about these kinds of symptoms.
Yeah. I mean, they do sound like sort of Tourette syndrome-like kind of symptoms, but you have no history of that.
Right. And it seems very neurological to me. So that.
But are they doing, I know it's just a stereotype, but are they doing things like saying bad things, or is it just the twitching and flailing and things like that? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming doctors did not think it was Tourette syndrome.
No, it doesn't seem like it. So her mom is actually a nurse. So her mom kind of insisted, I want some more tests to be performed on her to figure out what this is. So the second time she went to the emergency room, they did 7 hours of testing, including like a full blood workup, an MRI, which would be good. And all they could say is she's got tics.
I would think a CAT scan, if it's neurological, there's something in her brain might be going on.
I do MRIs of brains.
Oh, they do?
Mm-hmm.
Are they called brain MRIs? I'm just guessing. If not, I want to coin that term.
Of course, that's what they're called.
BMRI.
So she's still twitching. And so then a few weeks later, that's when her best friend Thera starts having very similar
all that
symptoms.
had happened before Thera.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot had happened to Katie. She had gone to the emergency room twice before Thera.
Mm-hmm.
And during that period, Laurie, because Laurie was before Thera,
mm-hmm.
aren't you glad for my timeline?
Yeah, good job, Dean.
Thanks.
But it's odd because when Thera starts having symptoms, they don't connect it. They don't connect Katie's
and
with
Laurie.
Thera's.
And Laurie's on YouTube, so presumably people knew about that.
Says,
How do you not connect that?
Katie says a lot of people have tics. And she said
they don't.
She just thought it was something that girls got, like cramps or a cold.
Oh, Lord. This is Thera saying this?
This is Katie.
Oh, it's Katie.
Yeah.
Okay, Katie.
And I guess, according to the experts, she's not wrong. Tics are not that uncommon.
Really? I have never known anyone in my entire life.
It says 1 in 100 high school students experiences them at one time or another.
I think Robert F. Kennedy needs to look into this. He'll figure out what's causing this.
Interesting, though, huh?
That's surprising.
I had never heard that.
I take that back. I think we did have, like, some kid had supposedly Tourette syndrome, but I didn't know him, and he left school. I think that was in high school. He left school because it was known, but not that well known. Certainly not well understood, and certainly not. It was very disruptive, and people didn't deal with it very well.
This 1 in 100 high school students experiencing tics is not Tourette syndrome.
No, I know.
Okay,
but but I can say unequivocally, I've never known anyone in my life that had tics.
Oh, I have.
I don't think I have anyway. Not that I remember anyway.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
And there was one kid.
I take that back.
Who would like blink a lot, like very pronounced,
Yeah.
and his head would bob, and
Yeah.
he would do it a lot. And there was a family in my neighborhood who, I think they had four kids, and I think 2 or 3 of them had Tourette's.
Well, remember, your neighborhood was absolutely a toxic cauldron.
That's true.
So
Anyway, yes. So I have known a few people, but those are the only people that I've ever known with Tourette's, and they all came from the same family. They were very nice kids.
Again, this is not Tourette's.
They're very
what
nice.
we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. No. So, but Katie, she said, oh, just, this is something girls get.
Mm-hmm.
She did know some people. She had been on a soccer team, and there were a couple of girls on her soccer team who had tics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they had Tourette's, and one kid who was diagnosed with Tourette's.
Mm-hmm.
So she's somewhat familiar with it,
Okay.
but so that's, I guess, why she thinks this just happens.
You wouldn't think it's like common, and just you wouldn't not connect. It's odd that you wouldn't think, okay, Thera is suddenly going under the same thing I'm having. I don't know if she had seen Laurie's YouTube or not.
I don't know if they did or not either. So then Thera's mom takes her to her doctor also, and they tell her that her tics are stress related. So she just assumed Thera's got stress, and apparently she had a similar episode 3 years earlier. So Thera had.
Okay.
But then when her mom found out that, Katie and, other girls are coming down with these symptoms, she started to think it's kind of a common thread. And is it all stress related, or is only Thera stress related? She thought there was more to it than just the stress. And so other parents were starting to think the same thing. It goes to, is there something in the water?
Yeah.
And what do all these kids so far have in common is the school. So is there something going on with the water at the school, or the football fields where all the kids are running around? And it was by mid-January. So this all started around October. By mid-January, the number of cases that they knew about was around 12.
Okay.
And so they had brought this to the school and the city. And so they were conducting tests, and they brought in the New York State Department of Health and environmental stuff too. And they were having community meetings. And so at the first community meeting, where they were going to announce some of the kind of preliminary test results, they said, these are health issues with students, so we have to respect their privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure they were in contact with doctors and stuff, but they can't, like the health department officials are not going to go to a community meeting and say, so they're saying we have to defer to the privacy of these patients. We can't give you their diagnoses, but we've, done preliminary testing on the school water and the soil and the playing fields and all that kind of stuff. And it's safe.
Okay.
There's no toxins. There's nothing going on there. They performed air quality tests and things like that. And they said, we haven't found anything. So we don't think it's related to anything in the school environment.
It's any ecological cause.
Correct.
Okay.
Of course, you know how parents are.
Yeah, especially in 2011, it's only worse now, but in 2011, it's already bad. I'm sure there's government. We don't trust them. I'm sure there's lots of conspiracy theories going around.
They weren't really satisfied. And Katie's parents, her mom and stepdad, weren't buying it.
What are they covering up?
Yeah.
God, that's irritating.
People always go to that. It's a big cover up. It's a conspiracy.
It's just, it's not impossible, but these are just people. They work for the state.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Yes.
Who are they coming up for? Why would they do that? Their career's over if that's found out. Why? This is immensely unlikely. If it was Dow Chemical Plant nearby, and Dow Chemical's spokesperson said, nothing to see here. Yes.
Yeah.
Be highly suspicious. But in this circumstance.
Well, 5 days after that first community meeting, Katie and her mom and Thera and her mom appeared on the Today Show with Ann Curry. And you can look it up and watch it on YouTube.
I will not.
Yeah. It's not bad. Katie is literally sitting there, no visible. You would never know. She's not, showing anything. Thera has a lot of tics and stuttering and, head movements and stuff like that. And, their moms are basically just saying, we don't think we're getting all the information. They don't like the diagnoses they're getting from their doctors, that it's stress, that it's, they think they're being told it's all in their head.
Yeah. Well,
and it's clearly not all in their head. They're having physical symptoms.
Well, as you know, there are things that are happening psychologically that can, of course, cause physical symptoms. We've seen that on the show several times.
Yes. But they feel like they're being told they're faking it. And they're not.
They're not. I don't think I don't know exactly what's going on, but it doesn't sound to me like they're being told they're faking it. It's just the cause is endogenous. The cause is not something ecological. And if I was the parents, I would want, are there more tests you can do? Are there something you maybe haven't looked at? For sure. You want all those bases covered.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be, conspiracy theorizing, and I wouldn't interpret that as you're attacking my daughter or my child.
No, but they also feel like, they have stress, but it's typical high school girl kind of stress. Yeah. So really, so then it's also like it's an attack on my daughter because she can't handle normal high school girl stress. Yeah. I get it, but so anyway, so that's where those parents are at that period in time. It's still very early on.
I'm sure
in the
they're
thing.
Stressed at this point, for sure.
Yes,
the parents.
And it's really kind of sad because Thera is saying, I used to be happy. People used to like me. Now I can't even go to school. I don't feel like myself. She was an artist and, her hands are, her movements are so uncontrollable. I'm sure she can't be making art.
That's the thing,
like
though.
That, so.
This is involuntary. If it is an internal cause, it's an involuntary cause.
Yes.
She's a victim.
Yes. Yeah. So they do have, NBC has their...
if you say the words doctor in Oz, I'm going to stop listening.
No, she's some kind of doctor. Okay. I think she's a psychiatrist. Nobody you've ever heard of. She's not a famous psychiatrist. And...
that's the best kind.
Yes. And so Ann Curry asks her, what she thinks about what she has seen with these girls. So she brings up conversion disorder.
Conversion disorder?
Conversion disorder.
Tell me more.
And you can tell that the moms and the daughters have heard of conversion disorder before. And conversion disorder is when I'm not at that spot in my notes right now.
Okay.
But it's when you have a psychological issue, an event, your brain converts that into a physical symptom in your body.
Huh.
So
is that more or less what used to be called psychosomatic actions or illness or something like that?
Kind of.
Okay. I think that's the context I've heard of conversion theory in the past.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So these girls have been told about that, and these parents have been told about that, and I don't have trauma, because it's usually childhood trauma, childhood, abuse, things like that can cause conversion disorder in people. So they're kind of really defensive about that. And the psychiatrist even starts to say the physical symptoms are real. Nobody is nobody is faking it. It is real. It's something that happens in their brains and she goes, I can't diagnose them because I don't know them. And then when she starts to talk about how it's treated, Ann Curry literally cuts her off and goes back to the girls. Yeah. So it's like, it could have been very helpful. Yeah. But they're not, she has a producer yelling in her ear, don't get back to the girls. That's the stories about that. Not this, don't let this, intelligent person say intelligent, probably truthful things. So they go, Thera especially, I don't know how many of these kind of TV interviews Katie does. Mm-hmm. I saw a few more that Thera was on. Thera did Dr. Drew.
God.
with her mom, and Lydia was on that one. Lydia not with a parent. And it's terrible. I mean, it's
You do have to ask
sad.
why they are doing these talk shows. Is it to bring awareness? No, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, why are they doing these talk shows? I don't know. That's the queasiest part I've heard of this story so far. They don't really need to be doing these talk shows. I'm not gonna, ascribe motivation to you, but I don't see any reason you should be going on talk shows if you're not trying to just maybe take advantage of the situation.
Or generously to them, or giving them the benefit of the doubt, put pressure on the people they think aren't handling it the way they want it handled.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. So poor Lydia has a huge bruise on the side of her head, like face, on her temple, because she hits it so much on something. I don't know what, but it's a huge bruise. But so anyway, so they do these shows, and of course, local and even national news shows love this kind of thing. So now
of course they do.
The streets,
and they don't want to hear solutions. They don't want to have answers. They just want to feed off.
Yes.
They want to show you the emotion
Yes.
and trigger people and make people feel that.
And what is this scary thing happening to the girls of
and it's
LeRoy
going to
High
happen
School?
to our kids too.
Yes, there are news vans lining the streets of LeRoy now.
See, it's vulture journalism.
Yes,
but that's what, again, to go back to it, these parents are playing into the vulture journalism in a way that's not great.
Yes, and girls are posting videos of them having these things on Facebook, and So,
wait, they're posting things on Facebook of their own experience. Okay, that's awful.
Yeah. So
again, they're not. It's like, I want to draw attention to it. You're not doing that. You're exhibitionizing. What, is that a word?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't fault
I'm
any
trying
of the
so
girls
hard not to
for any of it. I mean, no, I mean they're kids.
Yeah, they've been trained by social media to do everything that you used to do in private, do it in public. But they still shouldn't be doing that.
Well, the day after Katie and Thera were on the Today Show, and that psychiatrist brought up conversion disorder, there's a neurologist in Buffalo who he had seen several of the girls. I don't know if he had seen Katie and Thera, but whoever were his patients, I guess he had gotten their permission to say what his diagnosis was of them, and it was conversion disorder. And he said that basically means, your brain is subconsciously converting stress or whatever other kind of psychological symptoms into physical symptoms. And because so many of these girls were having very similar symptoms, he was also considering it to be mass psychogenic illness, which is
mass hysteria. And you did have that second case, Laurie, went on YouTube. So you had that early inciting incident. It doesn't sound like Laurie knew about Katie, but it could have been just a weird coincidence. They were within some days of one another, and she could have heard about it too, because it's a small school. So
I have a wrinkle with Laurie.
Okay.
Laurie was the only one out of all of the 18 cases who actually did receive a Tourette's diagnosis.
So almost in a sense, coincidentally, Laurie has an actual physical cause, not a psychogenic cause, and she just happened to be in relatively near temporal proximity to Katie.
Yes.
And then she went public with it. Once you have that public incident, it's like the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Once you had a couple of incidents early on that are, I would still argue, pretty inexplicable. But then after that, once you have the first headline, cases 3 through 60 are very explicable. It's not certain, but you see the inciting incident. And Laurie's, the YouTube was, I would imagine, the inciting incident for the rest of these. And then Katie is almost certainly telling her cheerleader friends about this. That's her friend said. So
because she's missing a lot of school, she's going to the hospital.
So most of the early ones are, there's a lot of them are cheerleaders.
Yes, but a lot of parents didn't like that diagnosis
because they think it makes it like, oh, my kid is mentally weak or something. It's not that. It's
not
that at all. It's
not only that,
very normal human behavior.
But the mass psychogenic illness portion of it, mass hysteria, they said, one person said, it's a very hard pill for me to swallow. What are we, living in the 1600s?
Oh my God.
So they think it's,
It's not
harkening
that,
back
though.
to the witch.
Just because
witch
because it
hunts and stuff
goes
like
back
that.
to that. Yeah, that's not
No.
not mass. Salem witches was not mass hysteria. Everybody there knew exactly what they were doing during that, for example. So yeah,
No, but
that is
wasn't there
misunderstanding.
a theory that the odd behavior in some of the young girls or something?
I think
had
they knew
some-
exactly what they were doing. But
Well, so anyway, and they're saying, the whole thing that we've already said, kids are always stressed, and
yeah,
and
I mean,
some of
yeah.
these kids aren't even that stressed.
But that's the nature of this. Though you have a couple of incidents.
Yeah.
That's what triggers additional. That's how
Yes.
the next
Yeah.
you deal with that, because it's in the the milieu around you, is that I'm not making sense. You know what I mean? You see that happening to other people.
Yes.
With these first couple 3 cases. And then that's how it triggers that same behavior. It triggers that same reaction for every kid there is probably under a lot of stress.
Well, and we'll get into it when we get to that point in my notes.
Yeah.
There is an empathy
Okay.
component of it too. And Carrie's completely uneducated theory is as to why it affects girls more than boys.
Because that's very clear.
Is the empathy portion of it.
Oh, makes sense.
Like, because there was some part in here, and I'm assuming it was Katie and Thera, where one of the girls was more concerned, more worried about her friend's symptoms and how it was affecting her than it was herself. So maybe that was Thera and Katie, but
that's interesting, because it made me think something too. Is that, remember the Madagascar of Mattoon? A lot of men also. It wasn't just. I think it was a majority of women, but it was men too. And I wonder if the reason that was true for men is because there was seemingly a physical cause. It was never viewed. It was always viewed as an external cause. There's no reason a man could feel less manly for it not happening. But in a thing like this, where these sudden tics are happening, you would assume that people are going to think there's something going on inside your head, especially once the testers had said there's nothing going on here externally. Or there's no environmental cause of it. Or just I don't know.
But these things and conversion disorder, it does seem to, from what I've read, affect females more than males.
There's no question mass hysteria tends to be much, much more prevalent.
But conversion disorder is separate from mass hysteria.
Yeah, you're right.
This case happens to have components of both.
Okay.
But typically, So anyway, so one kid's dad, I don't know whose dad she was, but he went on CNN, and because everybody has different last names. That's why I'm not just stupid, but so anyway.
Wait, all these different people don't have the same name. Interesting. I thought
parents and children don't have the same last names for various reasons.
Okay.
So anyway, this father went on CNN, and he said, a lot of these kids seem to be just having happy, normal lives. And Katie's mom also said she didn't buy the diagnosis at all. She said her daughter hasn't had any trauma. She was just happy as can be.
See, no, that's, unfortunate that they'd react like that, because it doesn't have to be trauma in the sense. They're probably thinking trauma like, oh, are you saying I beat my child or something like that?
Correct.
And so they're getting very defensive.
Yeah.
Or stress is not, it can be traumatic, but it's not that it's, you don't have to think, oh, are you blaming me? And it sounds like some of them might have been thinking they were being blamed.
And also things going on in your family and your life that aren't normal things that happen to a lot of people. Divorce, death, all those kinds of things. Normal, everyday things that happen doesn't mean they're not traumatic to a child who's living in the house where that's happening. And I think I don't know, I believe in Katie's. I think her parents were divorced. And I'm not saying that divorce messes up children every time, but that is a source of trauma for kids. You never know what's going on in your kid's head ever. So Katie's mom also said she suspected there was a cancer cluster on the street where she once lived in LeRoy. That's what happened in my neighborhood too.
Good
People
Lord.
thought
Did
there
she
was a
blame it on the
cancer
transformers
cluster.
and making that buzzing noise on the telephone
Well,
poles.
she said she and several of her neighbors had tumors.
Cell Towers. Two
And
words.
she also said that early on, she suspected that Katie's symptoms might have something to do with the environment.
Okay.
Also, apparently,
Now I think I know why Katie was on the Today Show. That'd be her mom.
Yeah. Well, other people brought up there was a train accident near LeRoy, where tens of thousands of gallons of toxic chemicals were spilled into the soil, including trichloroethylene, which is a solvent that has been linked in high levels of exposure to nervous system damage, among other things. This train accident was in 1970.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know how long trichloroethylene lasts, but probably
and
not.
They
are. And again, you'd have to say all these different people in these state agencies are covering up positive, samples and things like that. And that's very unlikely.
Also very unlikely it's going to wait 41 years to
no one's ever had it until now
affecting people. Well, can you guess what other high profile individual might decide they needed to come and make a crusade out of LeRoy High School stuff?
Is it that horrible person on CNN with the nostrils, or is it Oprah, or is it somebody terrible?
Erin Brockovich.
She's much worse than people think she is.
She's an environmental activist.
I've some recently. There's been some. She's not the hero.
Yeah, she's had some stuff, but so she became an environmental activist.
Yeah.
When Julia Roberts plays you in a movie, you've got a name. So anyway, she didn't go there herself. I think she sent a team to test the soil on the school grounds. She said, "We don't have all the answers yet, but we are suspicious." Mm-hmm. She told USA Today. And so her team shows up at the high school on a Saturday with a CNN crew and some other reporters, and the police are there and they say, get off the school property.
What they're trying to do is, that was probably not a smart move. It looks like you're enforcing a cover-up, the police, by doing that. Just let them take some soil samples.
Why? How do you know? Would you trust that Erin Brockovich? I mean, I wouldn't let them in either.
I would. I would let them in and take some soil samples.
I wouldn't.
Shut the hell up. Okay, you're taking that. I'm going to take a soil sample at the same time you are. We'll test them as well.
Because also, I mean, where are they going to go take plugs from? Where are they going to take them from? It's stupid.
I still would have let them do it.
It's stupid. I wouldn't.
Because you got to think about what that's going to look like. You're just going to feed the beast.
Well, yeah, you're right. It didn't help, but
I imagine it hurt.
Well, so one of these guys, of course, because they have CNN there, he said, "Usually in settings or situations like this, when I'm confronted by officials barring access to something, they usually have something to hide." So,
that might not be, that's probably true in many, many cases. Again, another reason they should have let him take some samples.
Yeah. Although, a lot of people were angry. A lot of people thought they were trying to hide things, especially after the whole Erin Brockovich testers. Mm-hmm. But a local online newspaper, so, you might have to take that with a grain of salt because I know about our local online newspaper.
It's a quality publication.
But they posted a poll asking people, are you confident LeRoy schools are looking out for the best interests of students? They got 1,600 people to respond to this poll. 67% answered no. So,
as you know, self-selected polls
correct,
are the most worthless thing imaginable.
Yes.
They show you nothing whatsoever in any way, shape, or form.
That seems like a lot of people, though.
Yeah, it does, but it doesn't. It's utterly meaningless.
I know, and we already know.
Worse than it's again. What is worse than the only thing worse than no data?
Bad data.
Bad data, and that's bad data.
So around 5 months after this all started,
and people tell me I sound professorial. It's a pet peeve.
They have another community meeting, and the school superintendent says, she's getting a barrage of questions about the environmental concerns and all that kind of stuff. People were worried about natural gas wells on school property, the toxic waste cleanup sites, and a sticky orange substance oozing out of the playing fields, whatever that was.
Tang.
So They're like, what are you, how are you protecting our kids? I don't want to send my kids to school there. She said all the environmental testing had been done. There was no known toxin. They weren't just basing it on local experts. They went out to the country's best environmental testers and, experts, and they all agreed. What?
At that point, what does the town have to gain by a cover-up in the state, right? Do you think
nothing.
they'd want to uncover something like that?
Yes.
Quite the opposite. They can actually gain tremendously by uncovering something like that.
Then they can fix
really?
it. Yeah.
And not fix it, but sue somebody. And so someone be at the cause of that, presumably. And for the town to uncover that, A, you can get some recompense. And B, why would you want to have your citizens going on? I mean, you'd have to be, I don't know. It seems silly to think this is not the situation where you should expect some kind of a cover-up or conspiracy.
Yes. But, the superintendent was saying not only could they not find any environmental toxin or anything to explain this, they also agree there's nothing that would only affect exclusively teen girls, not boys, teachers, administrative staff. Why it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. It's a great point. Again, back to the Mad Gazer of Mattoon, where they theorized that it was, God, it might have also been TCE, by the way, that was coming from that plant nearby, but it affected people in random areas throughout the town, as opposed to what you'd think, which is that it would affect areas nearest to that plant, and it did not do that. So again, it was like the same thing, just using simple logic, it pretty much can't be that. So in this case, there's no way it would just affect teenage girls.
No. So right around this time, Aaron Brockovich is appearing on the news and talking about toxins and, nobody's trusting their local officials and all this kind of stuff. The neurologists in Buffalo were treating some of the girls, and one of those doctors said that some of his patients who were afflicted had been improving with all of the renewed news coverage because of Aaron Brockovich and stuff. They're starting to get worse again. He said they're suddenly in his office saying, it's this chemical is causing this thing in my head, and they're fearing that they're damaged for the rest of their life. So
they're scared. And again, since they are not consciously doing this to themselves, it's a subconscious cause that, this kind of thing. You're right. That's exactly what you would expect to happen.
Yeah.
You've renewed that fear.
Yeah.
And so you've re-triggered that psychological cause.
So they're starting to now see an increase in cases that they're attributing to sensational news coverage. And then there's also increased stress around it with people, parents probably are affecting their kids who have to go to school thinking, they're going to catch something. So as more girls get sick, the story gets bigger, and then more girls get sick.
Yeah.
It's
that's more or less classic mass hysteria.
Yes.
In terms of the timeline, something that is interesting is that you said this started in 2011.
Yes,
right?
Fall of 2011.
And then in 2012, this is fairly coincident with just trailing the Tea Party movement, which was feeding tons and tons and tons of conspiracy theories and anti-government feeling. Yeah. So I wonder if that may have contributed to the distrust from a lot of these parents and these people in the town, because they were, New York was a hotbed outside of the city of New York, especially. It was a hotbed of that Tea Party kind of stuff going on. So I wonder if that's just,
it does make sense.
It's helping it along,
because there really was a distrust of the local government.
Yeah. I mean, that's been going on for decades, but that was the 2010-11 period was when it really ratcheted up.
Yeah. Well, here's what we're going to talk about now.
Okay.
Some of the stuff. Well, Katie and Thera, best friends, they thought, well, maybe some of those other girls have conversion disorder, but we don't. We've been stressed out at times, but, when this happened to us, we weren't particularly stressed out. And then this is a reporter talking to Katie and Thera, and Katie starts talking about, when my boyfriend's mom had to take me to the emergency room that one time, it's because my mom couldn't take me because she was recovering from brain surgery.
Oh my God.
And her mom had said,
that was Thera or Katie?
This is Katie.
Sorry, okay.
the cancer cluster, and she had tumors, and she knew other people who had tumors. Well, she had brain tumors, and she has something called trigeminal neuralgia, which is a nerve condition that causes this excruciating pain in her face. And so she's, this surgery that she had, in the weeks leading up to it, sometimes her pain was so bad, she was so sick she couldn't even get out of bed. So the surgery that she had was 1 week before Katie's tics started.
It's extraordinarily stressful.
Katie said, "I see where you're going with this."
Yeah, do you?
And she
Go
said,
there with us. This seems like a very promising cause of this.
here's what Katie has to say about her mom's condition and her surgery. She's had like 13 surgeries. I'm so used to it. Seriously, it was like a walk in the park.
No, Katie. No,
so, like,
Katie's in denial.
My mom's brain surgery, no big.
Not a big.
So Farah said, yeah, our families have had troubles.
Yeah.
Her family, several years earlier, they had a traumatic loss in her family. They, requested, they did not want to divulge the details of this, which is their prerogative. And she didn't really have a relationship with her biological father. And she said she was feeling bad about that. She was losing sleep over stuff with her dad. And that after her symptoms had started, and I guess she was even having seizures, they were upset that her father didn't come. I guess he was living in South Carolina. So she was upset that he didn't come for that. And so that's stressful.
That is stressful.
Trauma.
But they're not wrong in saying these things aren't abnormally more stressful than most people are experiencing at any given time. I don't think that's
they're not
unfair to say for them to say that.
They're not. But you also don't control what your brain does with it.
Yeah. So I can see them thinking, no, I wasn't under any particularly grievous stress at the time. But like you said, they don't know themselves.
Yes.
I'm sure she absolutely doesn't realize herself that it was something internal.
Yeah.
And you do. And you certainly, I totally get from internal psychology that you would always want to think there's an external cause, not an internal cause.
I get it.
Who wouldn't react?
No, I completely get it too. But it's just funny how, oh no, we don't have stress. We just have normal stuff. Oh yeah, my mom's had 1,000 brain surgeries and my dad left and he won't come to, it's just a little bit on the nose and they can't see it.
Yeah.
And so this reporter is talking to these girls on the afternoon, and it's just interesting, the dynamic between the two girls. One yawns, then the other one yawns. One says her stomach hurts, then the other one says, oh, my stomach hurts too. And they really kind of speak, they finish each other's sentences, and they're very
It sounds like a little
close.
Folie-à-deux kind of a dynamic a little bit.
Well, I don't know. So...
Or some, a variant of that.
Yeah. And in their school, there were some people thought, oh yeah, those girls are really sick. Those ones, it's psychological and quote, I'm doing air quotes. Oh, and those ones are just faking it so they can get on the news like Katie and Thera.
Now you're doing weird hand motions.
Stuff like that. So, that kind of stuff is going on in the school as well. So some of these kids and parents not accepting the diagnosis of conversion order because they think, oh, it's all in my head, I'm faking it.
Or they think it's my fault.
Yes.
Or partly my fault.
For the parents, yeah, for sure. The thing is, they have done tests on the brains of people who they suspect have conversion disorder. All of the physical symptoms are wholly involuntary. No doctors would say, anybody's doing this on purpose. But one study found different brain activity in patients diagnosed with conversion order and disorder and patients who were asked to fake the same sort of symptoms that the patient with the diagnosis had. And in this one case, it was a limp ankle. So they could see in the brains, I don't know how they did it with an MRI or something like that, that there is a distinct difference in the brain between the person with conversion disorder that has they're limping on their ankle and the person that's just pretending to limp on their ankle. And it says it's a more complex mental activity in patients with conversion disorder.
Yeah, because the other person's just their brain doing the thing to fake a limp.
Yes.
Whereas the conversion disorder has a complex soup of things going on in their head, I'd imagine.
And so researchers think it has something to do with the amygdala, and that's where the startle and fear responses are in your brain.
Again, and that's sometimes called the lizard brain or something like that. But it is the very instinctive,
involuntary,
unconscious, involuntary kinds of things. So
and the amygdala has been shown to be overactive in patients with conversion disorder.
Now, but the fact that, I mean, it'd be unlikely that they had overactive amygdalas in this population group. It's the thing that's happening to them, the conversion disorder that's happening to them it's, I would think, causally impacting their amygdala to be more overactive, right? Otherwise, it'd be super weird if these 18 people that had this just happened to be going to the same high school coincidentally. So the amygdala being overactive was caused by this, whatever's going on with the conversion disorder.
That's what I think it means, yes. And it said ordinarily the amygdala might create psychological distress, but instead, in cases with conversion disorder, it creates involuntary movement and tics and stuff like that.
There's so much we don't know about the human.
And that's what they say.
We know so much, and we know in 100 years, I think you guys knew 1% hell, in 50 years of what we know now.
Yes.
It's psychiatry, I know I've said this before, I'm not trying to bag on, but it's super primitive still.
Well, and he's an investigator at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, and he said this is a very plausible theory, the whole amygdala and all that kind of stuff, but he says we're at such a beginning level of understanding how it works. So Freud was into this kind of stuff too, and
he was wrong about everything.
Yes. But he did have theories that basically
got to start somewhere.
Word conversion disorder.
Yeah, did he?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, he did. So it's kind of interesting. Half of mass psychogenic illnesses occur in schools, and they're far more common in young women, like we said, than any other category.
Schools make sense though because they're young. Their brains are less fully formed. Let's be honest, and they're close, and they're interacting with one another at a very intimate level,
and highly susceptible to
what's happening in the other people around them,
and wanting to belong. Right,
that's true.
Going on hugely in high school environments.
Most of these cases, I mean, the most famous cases were from schools, and the most famous case from the Middle Ages was from a nunnery in France. I think it was in France. That dovetails, that falls together.
Yeah. So experts estimates that hundreds of outbreaks occur every year.
Really?
They
just don't get this kind of publicity? They don't get on Today's Show? They don't get Aaron Brockovich to stroll into town and say, there's a conspiracy going on.
There are a few examples. 22 students got some kind of stomach complaint at a football game in Houston. And, it didn't become...
that could be hot dogs.
That didn't become a big thing.
That could be queso.
There are also, it's called motor mass hysteria, twitching, fainting, stuttering. And those kinds of things draw more attention than, a bunch of people getting diarrhea or throwing up or whatever, or just saying my stomach hurts. Oh, well, so back to what I said earlier, mass psychogenic illness. It's kind of the mechanism and how it works is still mysterious. They don't really know, but they think it's connected to empathy and longing for belonging, like we said, which happens a lot in high schools. Seems like it's frequently associated with cheerleaders.
Really?
Interesting.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
And because it seemed in the school environment anyway, it seems to start with somebody of status, high social status within the community. Katie was one of the head cheerleaders. Okay. In North Carolina in 2002, 10 students, 5 of them cheerleaders in a rural town, suffered from non-epileptic seizures and fainting spells. This is way back in 1952, but there are 165 members of the Tigerettes cheerleading squad.
That's a big...
How many members are in this?
Jesus. In a rural town?
Monroe, Louisiana. The North Carolina was a rural town. This is Monroe, Louisiana. I don't know how rural that is, but 165 members of this cheerleading squad fainted before halftime at a high school football game.
So there's more than 165 members in the cheerleading squad.
I guess
I'm
so.
assuming. Otherwise, they say all of them.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, that size of cheerleading squad. Yes, that is bizarre. That's my takeaway.
But
It's insane.
That became such a. I mean, think about it. 165 people fainting at once. It said like there were like ambulances driving onto the football field. Yes. It said somebody said it looked like the racetrack at Indianapolis. So, conversion disorder and mass psychogenic, what's called mass psychogenic illness. Sure. They tend to resolve pretty quickly. Most of the girls, probably except for the one that really did have Tourette's, all of those cases resolved by summertime.
That's not that quick. I imagine that
it's not,
but the media attention there probably prolonged
exactly. And the ones who were not on the news, who were not on big on social media, those cases resolved much more quickly than the others.
All of which implies, again, it is mass hysteria.
Yep.
What?
This is just a funny quote from Thera. She said, this is Lydia. So Thera was the high status girl that had it. Lydia was the low status girl that had it. And Lydia really looked up to Thera. They were in art classes together. And Lydia thought, Thera has this great charmed life. She's a cheerleader. She's just the best at art. And, her life is going to be great. And when she saw Thera get this thing, she really had empathy and felt bad for her. And then she came down with very similar symptoms.
I thought she preceded.
No, not Lydia.
Oh, okay.
She did not accept that she could have conversion disorder. And she also said that she also didn't believe it was anything to do with the environment because I always drank my own Snapple.
Okay. Well, what's left then? What do you think it was?
I know.
Aliens?
Yeah.
Carrie, we both know what it was.
Aliens?
No.
Oh, what?
Vaccines. Had to be. They caused untold damage.
People did bring that was brought up also.
I'm not surprised. Yeah,
So,
it's just affecting these 18 young women.
Yeah. And, you can read articles online that will go into more detail with some of the other girls and what their particular family backgrounds were and what their traumas were. And a lot of them had them. And
yeah, I at some point in mass hysteria, you don't have to have that. The triggering event is the mass hysteria itself.
correct.
It is the empathy and the wanting to belong. And it's
Yeah.
it's subconscious. You don't have to be in a particularly stressful time of your life.
Yeah. And some have it and some probably didn't. But that was the final diagnosis.
Yeah, I would buy that too.
I tried really hard to find some kind of update. Most of the articles that I could find were written in 2012,
Okay.
right around the same time. There were a few that were written maybe 2023 or 2024, but it's just all talking about
retelling,
it.
okay,
There's no update.
That strongly implies it fizzled out completely. The attention went away. People stopped having tics, and they went on with their lives.
That's what it seems like. They
Almost always what happens.
at some
In fact,
point,
it's always what happens.
they found some barrels that were labeled hazardous waste. The EPA they were labeled hazardous waste. They tested them. That sticky orange ooze
Tang.
on the playing fields.
Recent.
It's rust fungus.
Oh,
Which
rungus.
is common in Kentucky bluegrass. So, Aaron Brockovich always thought there was something, and it had something to do with toxins. But
Aaron Brockovich grants
never
and she needs
found
to
him.
fundraise. So that's what Aaron Brockovich is about. I feel like Aaron Brockovich is about Aaron Brockovich. If I'm being unfair to Aaron Brockovich,
well, that's fine.
too bad. Because I don't think I am. It's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
We've covered mass hysteria here before. Sometimes it does little things like some of the UFO stories where a kind of a little mini mass hysteria, at least when it does cause, essentially at its root is that people mimic what other people are doing. Again, we don't fully know why.
Yeah.
But you do. So you kind of, you can start the process. So maybe in those, if the first thing is that, my stomach hurts, I'm gonna have diarrhea, then people do that. If first thing is that I have these tics and I have these flails, then people do that.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
The last thing I want to say, I mean, we talk about how it just kind of peters out. No, these girls were getting medical treatment, and there was another theory that involved it being something to have to do with autoimmune from a strep infection, which is it is something that exists. It's extremely rare, and most doctors who know about that syndrome, it's called PANDAS, think there's no way these many people at the same time in the same place could get the same thing. But some of those girls accepted that diagnosis, or their parents did, and they were treated with antibiotics and anti-inflammatories, and some of them got better.
Effectively, that's a
placebo
effect. Yeah.
Therapy could also have a placebo effect.
Oh, for sure.
But also conversion disorder, there is treatment. It's cognitive behavioral therapies, counseling, antidepressants, all those kinds of things. And so some girls were getting that. So anyway, I don't want you to think that nobody was getting anything and it just goes away on its own.
No, but
and some of it probably did resolve on its own, because when you see everybody else getting better, and then
at some point, I mean, I'm not gonna bag on people getting treatment. I'm glad they got treatment. They should get treatment, but it's possible it's just the intention went away and they all got better because it was entirely psychogenetic.
Yes. Yeah. So
in other words, if they had not done any of those things, it probably would have resolved itself in the same fashion. And if they had not had the media attention, it probably would have resolved itself far quicker.
Much quicker. Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you, Carrie.
It is pretty interesting.
I want to say this. I hate when we do sound too like we're saying, oh, here's what happened, and that sounds arrogant. These young women were suffering. They're the victims. Like you said, no one thinks they're causing it or faking it, anything like that. And their reaction to that makes total sense. I totally get it from both the parents and the kids.
I do too.
But at the end of the day, it's even though the answer is inconvenient for those folks, doesn't mean it's not the answer.
No, I get it 100%. But I will say, I do tend to put a lot of trust in doctors.
Yeah.
And
the parents of those kids who went to the Buffalo psychiatrist and said, no, yes, you can tell them. I bet you they were the most rational people in the room. They said, we accept that.
Yeah.
It's not our fault. It's not our children, our daughter's fault. And we accept that. And please, use their case and their diagnosis to try to, nip this in the bud.
Yeah.
And there were other parents who were reacting differently.
Although I would say, even if it's my fault, then I'm going to say, let's try to fix it.
For sure.
I wouldn't.
But Carrie, you're Carrie. You're not like normal people.
Yes, I am.
No,
I'm very much like normal people.
Okay. Well, thank you, Carrie. Thank you for that. And any special announcements, anything like that? Anything for the peoples? No? Put you on the spot?
Do you have a special announcement?
No, I don't.
I thought you just wanted me to ask you.
No. That would be very clever of me. No, I did not.
No, it actually would not be very clever
It'd be very
of you at all.
ham-handed of me, but I did not think that, no.
Well, thanks for listening to this kind of Carrie Psychological Corner.
It is.
That's what it is.
Carrie Psychological Corner. Carrie Psychological Corner. All right.
It's been a while since we've had one of those.
Yeah, that's not a thing. It was Carrie's Criminal Justice Corner, in case you remember.
Yeah, but there have been Carrie Psychological Corner.
Carrie's Psychological Corner, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.